All right, round 5. We have 511 versus SharkBait, not to be confused with Team Sultan Sharkgui. So just keep that in mind when you are, because I myself and Boulevard confused that multiple times in this tournament, not going to lie, especially with the deck list. We had a lot of people, somebody had the Humble in the same name too, which I think we'll actually see a little bit later, but we also confused that deck. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to start up now. Round 5, 511 versus SharkBait. Game 1, 0511 versus SharkBait. Let's get into the gameplay.
Wait, hold on. His name in-game is Officer Oxygen? I love this.
Those are two complete... Usually, sometimes they're like a little bit similar, but wow, that's a big difference from SharkBait. Officer Oxygen. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right, shit. What is the best name that we've seen so far this tournament? That is sort of your area of expertise.
Oh my God. Hold on. I know this. We were just talking about the one with like Daddy in it.
Oh,
yeah. Daddy Thick, man. Daddy Thick with 2 Qs.
Oh God.
Daddy Thick with 2 Qs. That's where it's at.
I was about to ask which word had the 2 Qs in it.
That's just Daddy Thick. Of course it's thick. It's
thick.
Doubly thick. And SharkBait,
so,
not to be confused with Sharkgui, by the way, who is another...
Which I was doing earlier on in the tournament.
Which is another great competitive LoR player. Just a heads up on that one.
So we get the ideal turn 2 of Endure Spiders, and then the ideal turn 2 of Shen Fiora pretty much just completely negates that.
Yeah, feels really bad. The attack token gonna go back over to 0. You know, every time I say 0511's name, it seems like a really long name to say, but it's so short. It's like such a long drawn out 0511.
I'm probably just gonna call it 511.
Oh, okay, I like it. We're gonna go with that. 511. Looks.
So I liked Vile Feast onto the Fleet Feather Tracker. Oh, we're actually just going to get a pass. Okay. And the reason that I did was because if we get a pass out of 511 like we did there, we still have that Spiderling to use on the Bladed Caretaker on the following turn. Now this one's a little bit weird to me because I liked the idea of keeping Vile Feast to pop a barrier if we see something come out onto the River Shaper to deny that a sort of additional draw of the next time the River Shaper gets to attack, because I feel like right now that's what we're about to walk into, but it's still going to represent a lot of damage getting pushed through, so maybe we just don't care as much.
Yeah, I got to agree with you though, right? Because obviously with 511, he's going to be prioritizing trying to get some of these Fiora kills in. That's kind of one of the ways that this Fiora Shen deck can beat the Endure deck, because Endure has so many small units and lots of them. It's pretty easily usually for Fiora to get up to that win condition early on here, and that Vile Feast would have been able to prevent at least, you know, something like one of these 3 Riposts or 2 Spirits Refuge. There's 5 barriers, not to mention 3 Brightsteel Protectors and a Shen in here, and 2 Brightsteel formations. So there's all right, but what I will say is there is no Fiora yet. If we don't see an early Fiora, that could spell bad news for 511 early on here.
I think we're gonna. I mean, there has to be a barrier spell on this River Shaper, right? That's what we were holding all of this back for. That's why we passed all this mana. There is the Riposte, and we don't have the Vile Feast, but we did get rid of the Fleet Feather Tracker, and now we are going to get sort of double use out of this River Shaper. But the fact that it doesn't kill a real unit the first time does make it feel really unimpactful. As I had mentioned, I don't think SharkBait really cares because he's trading that for 10 damage.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, that just feels like a really bad Riposte. You're taking 10 damage just to get that extra draw, which theoretically draws you a little bit quicker into something like a Fiora, and using all your mana on a Swiftwing is also not exactly the greatest turn.
I mean, so if you draw a Riposte off of it, all you did was float your entire turn to let this live. Yeah. It really depends on what you get off that second draw, but I mean, maybe 511 just didn't have a better play. If you had a Fiora, it's still just taking a bit of damage from one of those, saplings killing it, so... surprised that we played Callista into the Fleet Feather Tracker, or into the Swiftwing Lancer. A little more surprised that we didn't kill the Callista straight away. We only got 6 mana. That doesn't represent 2 barrier spells in any universe that I'm aware of, as we're not seeing Prismatic Barrier in this deck. That would be a little bit overkill. So we are valuing keeping that as a blocker. Probably going to block the Callista with that, play another Riposte or Spirit's Refuge. In which case, I do like the idea of attacking with the Callista first, but when your opponent is at 10 life, it really doesn't matter. They're only going to heal 5, so no matter where you get that damage in, they're still going to heal.
Yeah, and this is a hell of an attack on the side of SharkBait. You get to trade this Swiftwing with the Callista, which will feel decent. Which, also, was that attack ordered incorrectly?
I think that I'd have to sit down and look at it for a little bit longer than I'm going to be able to, but it did look like sort of a weird attack. Also, was that Spiderling summoned by... No, did he attack with a Spiderling and then not summon one with Elise?
I think so, yeah. This is... Yeah. Okay, so I think that's 2 errors on the attacks here, because he could have gotten an additional token, and he could have leveled the Callista might have still died, but he could have leveled the Callista if she was tossed at the end there. So, I don't know.
I think the plan was to always glimpse beyond in response to whatever barrier spell, especially if it's Spirit's Refuge.
Okay, so I guess if that's the case, it's never really going to matter where you put the Callista, but
the missed
Elise,
token
yeah.
is weird to, like... The missed token always matters because you're playing an Endure deck, which is now going to come down as an 8/8, it looks like.
Yeah, that's an additional token to fuel the They Who Endure. Not to mention, I mean, a token is a token is a token. It's a 1/1. It can block. It can do damage. I mean, it matters. 511 is at 4 health, though. So, actually, to that point, with 511 being so low, being able to go that much wider also helps, having that additional token on there. You have something like another Blighted Caretaker in your hand. If you have another token, you could possibly go even wider. Your field actually might be too wide to actually play the Blighted Caretaker and get that much value out of it. So, not sure if that would have worked out, but yeah.
You're right. That was the 10-headed play. We don't let the token come in so that we can get more
Let's
tokens
go with
off
that.
of our Blighted Caretaker a little bit later.
Let's go with that.
SJW, you absolute genius. How have you seen through the Matrix this many times, my friend? You are a master of your craft.
This is what we do, man. This is what we do. We try. Oh, man. And then the Concerted Strike to just blow away this Callista again feels really bad. It feels really bad on the part of 511, though, that these tools, these reposts, these Concerted Strike, all these things are being used with no Fiora still coming down, which is pretty terrible. Not going to lie. I mean, that's kind of the point of this deck, is to win with Fiora. It's one of the primary win conditions, and just not finding it here in any of his draws.
It's strange to me that he's still not attacking with this Swiftwing Lancer. I understand you want to play around Vile Feast a little bit. Maybe then you just take out one of these Blighted Caretakers. Now we do have the Endure online, and I feel like we can always tell how prevalent everybody thinks Endure is in the meta by how often we see Purify out of Demacia decks.
Oh, yeah.
And so far, we have seen 0 Purifies.
When you see Purify, you know that They Who Endure has become the #1 deck in the meta. That's literally... That's how you know. Although, wasn't there a card... Oh, Whimsy. Okay. So there's also Whimsy now on the side of Ionia, which, if we start seeing that, I imagine that's also another side. But Ionia is very, very, very less represented than almost every other region nowadays.
Yeah, I feel like the only Ionia decks that we're going to see are... I mean, there will be a couple of Karma Control decks. There will be a couple of, Shen decks and things like that. We really haven't seen much Lulu. I feel like players really talked up this Lulu Shen deck, and then we haven't really seen it. Granted, Lulu was banned for a majority of the format. And then once she got unbanned, we saw a War Chef nerf. So it's possible that she just never got her day in the sun because the timing was never quite there for her in tournaments. But yeah, I don't think Ionia is really something we're going to be seeing a lot of, especially none of them that really want to be playing a card like Whimsy.
I think that Lulu is pretty much just resigned to being a ladder deck. It's that deck that you play to get some quick wins, just aggro down your opponent in like 5 turns, and if you don't win, you just forfeit. So it's like it's a way to get some quick wins. But yeah, I mean, Lulu just super underrepresented. We were excited to all see it after the whole shenanigans that happened with her bug and all that, and just nothing really happening with the whole Lulu thing. And
I've been screwing around with Lulu a lot more lately. Not even so much for the support effect, but I just really like help picks.
Yeah.
And like if I can level a Lulu and keep her on the back line and just get a help picks every turn, or like give her barrier on my attack turn and then make sure that she gets it off, or like give the things on. I really like Lulu conceptually. I do understand that she hasn't quite found the foothold due to some awkward timing.
Yeah, help picks is so good. But alas, we are in a meta devoid of Lulu. I don't really think we haven't seen Lulu at all yet today, so.
No, we saw it once in King of Runeterra, and it was probably the fastest loss that we saw that entire time.
Jeez, tell me how you really feel.
I think he was dead on turn 5.
So we do see the Dream on turn 1 from 511 getting that sweet Fleet Feather tracker out, but nothing to follow it. Wow, taking the open attack too, so absolutely nothing to follow up the Fleet Feather on turn 2 or 3 there. We might see something come down after on turn 3, maybe the Fiora.
Doesn't look like it. I understand going for the open attack, just, you know, if your opponent does have the Remembrance. Oh, and it looks like it's going to be deny onto the Remembrance. That's what we were holding it for.
That's not a bad
Unfortunately, not a bad deny for sure, but I don't think it matters too much. Officer Oxygen still gets down this Shield Bearer on turn 4, which is going to lead beautifully into that Radiant Guardian on turn 5. Because 511 has the attack token on 5, I don't think there's any universe where they get around not killing whichever Solari Oxygen decides to play, since he has top deck the Soldier.
Yep, Solari Soldier going to get played now. Getting the Daybreak effect. Pretty awesome attack as well, even if there's something like a repost. I think you're A-okay taking that trade, a unit and a repost. And yep, looks like because of that, 511 not willing to offer up something like repost. Also having to burn a mana. This seems like a really bad hand on the side of 511. Does have finally the Shen dropping down though.
Okay, so we're not getting the Radiant Guardian down this turn. I think that's... I don't love it, but I understand it. It's definitely reasonable. We could see the Concerted Strike come out to kill the Shen here, follow up with a Lux next turn into that Remembrance, get the final spark, and start to pick apart our opponent's board.
Yeah, I feel like having Lux early on the side of SharkBait is really good in this particular matchup. You'll be able to start picking off not only the units on board, but if a Fiora does somehow get down and get kind of out of hand, as long as you protect that Lux and keep her on board, you should be able to take down the Fiora quite nicely. So we'll see if the Lux hits next turn. We'll see if Fiora is able to finally be found by 511 here in this game before SharkBait is able to turn Lux on. I keep wanting to say Officer Oxygen. I look at the screen, I look down, I look up, I'm like, no, SharkBait. Okay, that's the Smash GG name.
So there are 3 deny in 511's deck. Yeah, Riposte doesn't save the Shen, though. It just trades it. Actually, okay, so yeah, we'll still trade it for the Shield Bearer, but I don't know that that was worth it to me.
Yeah, I don't know if that was worth it either. That's a lot invested in that. Like, that's a 4-mana Riposte and a 4-mana Shen in that trade for a Shield Bearer. Like, oof, that hurts. We do see the Lux come down, like I mentioned. So that is also good that we are getting the Lux to stick. And a lot of smaller units. 511's hand must just be trash.
I actually like an attack with the Lux here, because if your opponent does have the single combat, you are trading your Lux for a Fleet Feather Tracker, a Greenglade Duo, and a single combat. And that is absolutely insane value.
Wow. Yeah. So we're gonna see a Greenglade Caretaker. Did 511 just get stuck with all the 1-drops in their deck? Like, that is a feels bad man moment. You just shoved the attack here. Why are you passing? What are you concerned about with that barrier? Like a single combat?
I think I guess he just doesn't like the idea of trading the Lux for the single combat. Feels like he is going to need it to survive a little bit longer. Your opponent didn't have the mana for single Ooh, this is not good for you. Nope. That is going to be a 7-attack unit that you're just going to have to take. Could see single combat and star shaping to get that. We could see Remembrance.
I can't with this Lux. Like, we talked about this earlier. This barrier on the Lux almost always seems to just be, like, never used. I think people are so scared of losing their Lux. The barrier just never gets utilized.
I mean, like, losing Lux here isn't great, but I think if I'm trading it for 3 cards, that's got to be worth it.
100%. Like, I don't see why you'd be so scared of it there. Like, I don't think you lose the game losing your Lux. You have a Radiant Guardian. You have you have plenty of stuff. You have heal in your hand. You have a pretty good hand right now. But, hey, well, he decides to not attack. We have the Celestials getting invoked here. I feel like you always take Meteor Shower here, but Golden Sister is definitely not a bad choice as well.
And we're going to take... I mean, okay. I was about to say, if there's a Riposte coming out, we actually just might be dead. I don't even know if Star Shaping would get us through it just because of the additional buffs from the Greenglade Duos. But, I mean, now 511 going to lose a significant portion of the board. I have to check to see if they play Radiant Guardian. They do not.
So, unfortunately, not going to be able to get Radiant Guardian down yet on the side of SharkBait, too. So, we are going to see the Remembrance come out, though. We'll see if we get a Radiant Guardian off of this bad boy. And do we got another deny? Oh, no, single combat.
Ew.
Wow. That feels bad. So, there's the single combat we were worried about. Looks like it was top deck, though, if it came from the left.
Yeah, and this time we're not trading it for the Green Glade Duo and a Fleet Feather Tracker. I mean, we're still losing the Fleet Feather in the single combat, but this time we're not trading it for the Duo. And I mean, that was sort of, I feel like if we had attacked with the Lux last turn, that would have been best case scenario for us to get that. I mean, worst case, we push 4 damage.
Yeah, oh, I love this card. I can't wait till Shyvana comes out. This card is so good. I love it. This is like up there with Genevieve in my book. Like, Genevieve is clearly better, but I just love that this card grows when you challenge and kill something. Like,
I really think we need to play Golden Sister
Yeah.
here. Even if we do get a barrier spell out of our opponent, we can at least single combat that through to something. But looks like our opponent just has no barrier spells, which makes sense. If there was a riposte, you assume you would have seen that last game to go for
there's
lethal.
the barrier. But it's a little bit slower than a spell there.
This is a little bit awkward. You really don't want to lose anything to an additional single combat out of 511. Also has Concerted Strike available. Anything that you play has potential to die. I don't think you can really play around that. You've got to play something here. And I think just developing the 2 units out of the Golden Sisters is probably your best bet, since this Radiant Guardian is... Ooh, I don't think you can pass here. I think you need a bit more of a board to survive the next turn.
I wonder, with the way that 511's hand panned out early on, like just a lot of lower units, didn't really have too many great plays, still hasn't found a Fiora. I wonder if he's had a Bright Steel formation just chilling in hand. And we're coming up on turn 9 here. Bright Steel formation would be a pretty big deal. There's no immediate way for it to get dealt with on this. There it is. There it is. What do you do? You play. Every time I see Bright Steel formation hit the field, it's such a like statement. It's like, ha! My field is unkillable. Good luck.
So that's something I really liked about the Infinite Mind Splitter. Even though it didn't seem like it had a use case for its effect in a lot of decks, just there are not a lot of units in Legends of Runeterra that have a high attack value and a high health value. You know, even when your opponent is on defense, when they're not on those attack turns, how do you kill a Bright Steel formation? It's just a 9/9 is so hard to get through.
Well, that's why Concerted Strike is so good. So actually, in a meta where Concerted Strike is popular, I think that Bright Steel probably isn't as good as it should be. But it's still, like you said, I love that comparison to Mind Splitter. Honestly, like 100%. There's just not a lot of huge units like that. Bright Steel does that and has an amazing effect. Probably, I would argue, better than Mind Splitter. I mean, it does cost a little bit more. And this is a huge swing for 511. This is a turn. This is a lot of damage.
I don't think SharkBait is in a position where he's allowed to sort of take these bad trades. I think he's got to just block the Bright Steel and take the 6 damage. If your opponent does throw out, you know, I don't think there's actually anything they can have for 3 mana. Single combat is the only spell in the deck that costs less than 4. So unfortunately, you don't get a lot of use out of the triple spell mana that you have. But even if there was a riposte, you still had a Guiding Touch, which we might just see come out here. I don't hate the idea of a single combat from the Golden Sister onto the 25-2 Green Glade duo.
It's just 25. It'll be fine. It's not like it's going to get to like 30-something next turn, so it's fine.
I was going to say, why don't we play Atrocity in this deck, but I mean, most of the barriers are coming out of Demacia.
Oh, God.
And then that's an Ionia card.
That feels bad.
Here we are going to get punished with a single combat.
So, do we ever use Guiding Touch to heal the Screeching Dragon, so it could have pulled one of the Bright Steels this turn?
You know, that's not a bad idea. I don't think it's going to end up mattering a whole lot.
Okay, so Equinox is good.
For the Bright Steel.
So there's one problem down, but doesn't solve the 9/9 body. So we'll see what he follows up with here. Has, I mean, some larger units to kind of contest what's on the board. Also elusive units. But unfortunately, you know, no Aurelian Soul means these aren't all free, which means he has to choose which one he wants to play. If he goes with the elusive, I always forget the ferret's name. The Trickster. That's what it is. If he goes with the Trickster, then he kind of pigeonholes himself out of playing the rest of the cards in there.
Oh, I'm pretty sure we have to Radiant Guardian this turn if we're going to have any hope of surviving.
Yeah, I got to agree with you there. Which means you do have to play. That would be the Trickster you end up playing with the Moon Silver and then the Radiant Guardian.
I don't even necessarily hate the idea of, challenge this 25-2, get that off the board, play the Remembrance, see if we can high roll a second Radiant Guardian. But I don't think there's any combination of 3 cards that you get to play this turn.
So you're gonna
yeah, I mean, Trickster, Remembrance, Radiant Guardian is about as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah, looks like that is the line that SharkBait is looking at taking here. And at least this Trickster starts to be able to push through some damage on your end, so that you can actually threaten to win. Because right now you're not really doing anything to win the game. You're just trying to stay alive. So if this goes through and kills this 25-2 Greenglade, this will definitely be good for SharkBait. And oh, wow. Oh, my God. Well, thank God you can't go over 20 health for your Nexus in this game. That's a big boy.
Yeah.
That's a big boy.
And luckily, with the silence onto this, Bright Steel formation, we will get lifesteal out of our Radiant Guardian on the following turn. Doesn't high roll a second one, does get the Screeching Dragon. Not a bad pickup, though. And now we're just sitting on double Ravoon, and if 511 has another barrier spell to deny the lifesteal on that Radiant Guardian, that could just be enough. Or Genevieve could be enough as well to just take enough blockers out of the way.
I think that's game.
What can you hope for here off of either this Solari Priestess or Ravoon? I don't think there's anything you can get that's going to be enough. Yeah,
I think that's game. I think you just pull the Radiant Guardian with the Genevieve. You'll have 2 more blockers. All you need to do is 4 damage, which every unit on the board represents. And as far as getting a Celestial, there ain't nothing. I don't think there's any Daybreaks that are going to cost 5 or less either that are going to help him out. I mean, you have to play the Priestess, I think, is really the only thing you can... Or, oh no, see, even the Stun. The Stun Celestial is not going to get it done either. Crescent Strike. I was going to say, because it's 3 cost, right? Or 2 cost? So,
yep,
3 cost. So... Not going to get that. Falling Comet, if somehow 511 doesn't develop and passes, I don't...
Even if 511 goes for a scout attack, I'm pretty sure Comet's not enough. Just because every unit is representing lethal damage. I mean, Concerted Strike would have been the ideal top deck. That might have been enough to get you out of a situation like this, but just doesn't find it. Single combat even would have been enough, but yeah, SharkBait looks like they're not going to surrender. It's always weird to me when a player sits here for 10-15 seconds debating the surrender and then just passes to die instead of surrendering.
And yeah, that's gonna do it. 511 gonna take down SharkBait, which means we're going into a game 3 here. Man, this Fiora Shen deck is put up a pretty good match there. Is this gonna be one of the decks to beat moving on today?
So BBG's been playing a little bit of Fiora Shen lately, but I feel like BBG just does that a lot. He'll just default back to Fiora Shen to try that out, but I mean, when scouts were really good, you kind of had to think this is supposed to be a deck that has a pretty decent matchup into that, right? Got a little bit more awkward as things went on, but I do like the way that Fiora Shen pairs into the meta, and I always thought it was a little bit better than Lulu Shen, so I'm not too surprised to see that continue to pop up.
And for now, anyways, we are going to have the Bilgewater Freljord Gangplank Sejuani that we all know and love. Should be an interesting matchup here versus... yet again, this Leona Lux deck that we also have been seeing a lot of overall in this metagame right now. So we'll see who's going to get the better of the other. And it looks like 511 anyways, not really starting off great with no Jagged Butcher or Prowling Cutthroat. See if there's a 2-drop. And there it is.
I really like Hired Gun into Solari Soldier. I mean, you have to take the damage, but the fact that you just get to trade onto it next turn feels so good. There's not a lot of units, I feel like, outside of aggro decks where the Hired Gun actually gets to just kill the unit for free.
Yeah.
And is actually just not going to kill the unit for free. But Officer Oxygen just going to offer up the trade anyway.
That was a mind game.
I like to keep the board as clear as possible going into Radiant Guardian turns and just try and deny my opponent any units that they have on board in order to get that out. Maybe we were hoping that we could get a Plunder turn off.
That was a mental. That was a mental win from 511. All right, he's like, I'm in control of this game. I will do what I want. So, looks like we do see the elite come out though, and I still, man, that card for Demacia, Jesus. Let's see if it gets a use case in this game where it actually provides value. I'm very curious to see where that card gets used later on.
It looks like we're gonna Concerted Strike the Powder or the Monkey Idol.
Yeah, it's very interesting how prioritized removing Monkey Idol is nowadays. Like, I feel like people actually don't want that card to stick, whereas when it was originally released, people were just like, whatever, it's going to stick around and make some tokens, and then it's going to die, and I gain card advantage. But now people are like, no, get off the field. Like, we can't be having these plunder procs every turn.
Yeah, it looks. I mean, is this?
I don't know if this is right. This feels bad.
The only kind of units that you can kill where you feel like you're actually getting value out of the Concerted Strike are things like the Gangplank and Sejuani. Everything else out of 511's deck is really low to the ground, really low casted. The stats aren't really there. So it does feel like you're kind of wasting it no matter what, unless you can get it onto a champion. But, SharkBait's a couple turns off of that anyway. Now we're going to see the Gangplank. This could be a Ravoon answer. This could be the turn that we develop the Radiant Guardian.
Yeah, wow. And passing back over. Okay, so obviously knowing the attack is going to come through here, offering up the block to trade with the Babbling Bjerg. Got to push through a lot of damage on the side of 511. And here's the Radiant Guardian. So I think 511 was just, not really even going to try to play around that whole Radiant Guardian. We see that a lot in this matchup where players will specifically make attacks and do specific choices based on not having a unit die, while somebody like SharkBait still has 5 mana open to play this Radiant Guardian, but not the case here. Wow, that sucks.
No warning shot and no card.
Yeah.
For 511, that means it's either a Bjerg or a Sejuani on the top of the deck.
Yeah, that feels really bad after that nerf. I gotta tell you, it already feels bad missing Allegiance. Now it just feels terrible. This is probably, I don't know, what do you hate more now? Or what feels worse? Missing Bannerman or missing Yordle Grifter now?
It depends on if I have a merchant on.
If you have a merchant as well, then the Yordle Grifter feels worse?
Yeah. Oh, I don't really... Attacking a keg is always so weird with Radiant Guardian, because even if something like a warning shot is coming out, it feels like a 7 damage warning shot, because I denied your 5 lifesteal and pushed a little bit of damage.
Yeah.
I don't know why... I cannot fathom why Lux did not attack the keg.
Yeah, okay, so... I cannot fathom why people just don't want to attack with Lux. Like,
so I understand not like straightforward attacking with Lux, because if a Make It Rain comes out and
there's
Gangplank gets to block it,
Darius
that's going to feel really bad.
There's the okay, so we're not crazy. There was a reason to attack the keg. I can't, the amount of times I've seen Lux just not attack is people just, I feel like she's not even a champion. She's just this like continuous spell that sits on the field.
So I kind of understand, there have been times as well where like I'm debating attacking a keg with a certain unit, and then I decide, okay, you know what, I'm not going to attack the keg, and then I just like forget that I have other units that can do it. It's a bit of a brain fart moment. It happens to all of us. SharkBait just going to miss out on killing that for it. Is still going to lose the Radiant Guardian. Gangplank can still kill that. Do we ever see the Prismatic Barrier to protect this? I feel like it's risky, because you've already kind of made the call that, maybe you have Make It Rain, and that's why I didn't attack with the keg. But I mean, we were talking about the fail compilation for Make It Rains earlier. Is this going to get added to the highlight reel? It is not.
Well, Make It Rain hitting what it needs to hit here. Going to get rid of the Radiant Guardian, and most importantly, getting rid of the Radiant Guardian while it's frostbitten, not able to heal up at all on the side of SharkBait. Not that it really would have mattered with him still being at 17, but this is definitely good for 511 here. And now, we have 2 cards in hand that we have talked about many a time on the side of SharkBait. For Demacia and Judgment, both of which do not look like they're going to have very good situations to be used in anytime soon. I can't stress enough, this is the exact situation that you worry about with these 2 cards, and it seems to come up more often than not in this particular deck.
I think SharkBait really wants to level the Lux this turn. Otherwise, your Judgment isn't really threatening. Maybe you just throw down the Ravoon instead. Something that is worth noting, because SharkBait did not kill the keg, he ended up losing his Leona for it. She was a 3/5. She ended up dying to that Yordle Grifter because she took the 2 damage. So she would have had, SharkBait would have had a 3/1 Leona sticking around if he had remembered to kill the keg. And it looks like he's going to get hard punished for it here.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see if he goes with the Leona. He's hovering the Ravoon, too. It looks like we might see the Ravoon come out before the Leona. We'll see if that's the right play or not.
This is the Riptide Rex turn.
Yeah.
So I like the Leona so that if a Rex does come out of your opponent, you still have Concerted Strike mana. You can at least kill one of these champions or the Rex himself.
Ooh.
So there's the Bjerg that denied the Grifter. That, I mean, it didn't necessarily grab Rex. You do have all of your champions as well.
Yeah, but with seeing 2 champions on board, you got to imagine it's more likely that a Riptide Rex was just grabbed. So I do think SharkBait does need to go ahead and play around that for the next turn, but it does opt to go ahead and use that Concerted Strike, like you mentioned, to get rid of this Sejuani.
But now that 511 has gotten down the Bjerg, if another Sejuani was drawn, we could see the Fury of the North to go ahead and protect her. This is one of those situations where the champion spell protecting the champion is much cheaper.
Yes.
So it does feel a little bit worth it to actually use it, because otherwise, if you do want to Rex next turn, it feels really awkward to actually find the space to get down that 6 mana Sejuani, where you could just save her here. But we are going to have Judgment online next turn. Yeah, Lux is going to get leveled here because the Prismatic Barrier was played a little bit earlier, so she is going to be up to 5 attack. Will actually be able to clear the board, and we even get a laser to pick off the Bjerg, or maybe push a little bit of damage onto the Gangplank. I think killing the Bjerg is a little bit more likely, unless this Gangplank is going to level next turn, in which case I think we want to set that up for the Judgment. It looked like 3 out of 5, though.
Yeah, we'll see what he decides to go with the final spark here. I got to agree. I feel like the Bjerg makes more sense. It does, yeah, it looks like he's going to opt to remove this Bjerg from the field. Gangplank, I don't think is going to level next turn. I think it's actually 2 turns away. Oddly enough, which, yeah, and which is weird because going into turn 9, it's kind of insane that 511 has not been able to deal damage on 5 separate turns. That is not usually the case in this Gangplank Sejuani deck.
That was the Concerted Strike onto the Monkey Idol, paying off there.
Yeah, so that looks like it was the right decision, getting rid of that Monkey Idol early on, but that is going to give it 1 turn closer, followed by Riptide not clearing the Leona, so very crucially going to keep that Leona on the field.
I don't know how much it matters, because Leona has this weird interaction where the interaction where she levels, she does not stun anything. So even if she is a 3 out of 4 right here, the Ravoon will not get a stun off. And that does mean you're going to be losing your board. You know, you can't afford to take all this damage. Is actually just a little bit over lethal presented by 511 at this moment if we put no blocks out. So we're going to be losing something here. And I have to call back to that Lux failing to attack the keg. We would have had that Leona already on board. This would have been sitting in hand still. It'd be a little bit healthier, you know. It'd be a totally different game. But now we are just going to trade off the Rex and the Ravoon. No damage comes through on the Gangplank.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're even on cards now. The life total is relatively safe. You know, SharkBait not feeling like he's too pressured at 11 is going to throw out the Lux. If we see something like another warning shot into another Riptide here, that's probably just it. And okay. It took a second to do it there, and I thought he missed the Allegiance.
Yeah, I think because there's no warning shot immediately, I don't think we're used to the delay that we have to wait for the Allegiance now. So
yeah,
yeah. So this Lux, holy bejesus, we have a Lux attacking with a barrier. Everybody record it, mark your calendars. This is happening, and we are getting a Make It Rain to pop the barrier first and push a little bit of damage onto this attacking Lux. We'll see if that's going to matter here. Now being at 4 health might be able to remove that Lux on the side of 511.
I got really thrown off there because I know as casters we try to hand track as much as we can, and since his release, Yordle Grifter has put the warning shot to the right of the stolen card. But now that they are part of the same ability, the warning shot goes to the left. And I'm sitting here looking at this warning shot all the way to the left of the hand, and I'm like, when did he play the stolen card?
Yeah. Yep. Which, crucially, we went over this earlier, actually burns the warning shot if you are at max hand capacity, as opposed to the card that you would yoink from your opponent's deck. So that does matter. It could possibly come into play at some point. But opting for all this heal on face, not sure why you would play the Guiding Touch here.
I understand the Guiding Touch. I'm a little surprised that it went onto face instead of Lux.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that... I mean, so we are at a point where all of 511's champions are leveled. They're going to be 6/7s and 6/6s, so maybe we just think that, you know, the extra health on the Lux doesn't actually matter. If he plays a big champion, I'm going to have to block it.
Getting the Remembrance, too. So I'm just going to... I feel like I'm the tracker for this game. Notice that for Demacia and Judgment are on the left side of the hand. They have now continue to not be used for basically the entire game. Just going to throw that out there.
I do like Judgment.
I like it too. I like it. I don't get me wrong. I think it's a good card, but it's just never in a good spot to get good value.
It's definitely a more awkward tournament card where when your opponent knows it's coming. I feel like on ladder you can get a lot of blowout situations with that, and it looks like the 4 Demacia is going to get used now, SJW. Look at this good card doing all this good work.
I mean, literally all this is spend 6 mana, get Final Spark. That's what that just did.
Our Lux also survives the Sejuani attack. That's important.
I guess. I don't know. So now that we're seeing the value that this card is actually getting, it just seems to be very underwhelming. But hey, you know, what can you do? We'll see how this Judgment may or may not get used soon here. And we do also have the Sejuani getting the effect, or sorry, getting leveled up, I should say, not getting the effect as the Yordle Grifter does still trade with the Lux.
I don't think this Judgment's ever getting played. Your opponent has a leveled Sejuani. They have 2 Warning Shot in hand. We get to see a laser this turn. We're going to see a follow-up laser next turn with the Remembrance, I would assume. And then our opponent's down to 1 Sejuani. So maybe this is the situation where, you know, this Sejuani only sticks around for a turn or 2. We get it off. Never mind. There's a Stolen Star Shaping going to heal that right back up.
Wow.
2 instances of damage. It's so hard to remove things against a Targon deck. Wait a second. That's right. I'm the Targon deck. Where did this come from? It was the bottom of my deck. That's cheating. That's stealing. That's illegal. Right to jail.
Yep. If only. But we do have Morning Light and the Great Beyond. Like, there's a very good possibility we get a blowout turn, but the problem is that Sejuani on board and 2 Warning Shots in hand. Any attempt that SharkBait makes here to go in for lethal is just going to get... it feels so bad. It's going to get denied with a 0 mana burst spell, okay? That's what's going to happen. And yeah, that's right. You heard that right. It's busted. That's rough. Yep, there it is.
Ooh, even the Riptide going to come down. Not going to kill the Lux, though.
Or the Great Beyond, it looks like. Wow, so that actually worked out pretty well for SharkBait, but the fact that they both lived, I don't really think is that great. I don't think it's going to do too much for him, other than just allow him to live possibly another turn here.
I think the Great Beyond was developed in order to have an effective blocker for the Sejuani, something that will survive it and can at least try and bait out the Warning Shot on that turn because you need to protect the Sejuani. Then I can, you know, I'm Warning Shot free, at least the ones that I know about on the following turn. I can try and push a fair amount of damage. If you do have another Warning Shot, maybe then my Judgment is online and I feel a little bit safer to use that. But it always feels like these NAB decks, once they get the Sejuani online, it's just...
Oh my gosh. The second he opened with the Warning Shot, I'm like, you don't open with this Warning Shot unless you just ripped another Riptide Rex off top of your deck, and that is exactly what happened. And I think that is going to put it away here. And not SharkBait, sorry, 5-11 is going to go ahead and take this victory and move on to be undefeated. Both players were 4-0. And wait,
hold on. So Sejuani's effect has already been used for the turn. So Remembrance into Judgment will actually clear away the 2 Riptide Rexes. And if it is a Radiant Guardian, but it is a Cavalier, but he is going to survive the turn.
All right. Wow. Okay. I take it all back. I take the Judgment back. Look at this Judgment finally getting value. Holy crap. Holy crap.
Yeah, look at this. Look at how silly you sound right now. Doesn't even take damage from the Overwhelm thanks to the Tough on the Cavalier. Granted, doesn't have a good hand to try and mount a comeback. That is not what you wanted to see.
Oh, that's what I wanted to see. I don't even care if SharkBait loses now. I just wanted to see the Judgment actually get utilized in a good way. Look at this. Finally. Holy crap. Whew. We have ourselves a game, ladies and gentlemen.
And I feel like you have to single combat the Petty Officer here.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel great, but that just kind of is what you have to do, I feel.
Yeah, you got to get use out of that 6 health while you can. And Monkey Idol.
Hold on.
Wait, what are you?
Please don't throw it at the Challenger Poro.
Yeah, that Monkey Idol. That Monkey Idol might actually win the game for 5-11 now. We got rid of the first one, but now this last one might clean up the last few health that SharkBait has here.
Especially now that we know that there's one less Star Shaping in the deck.
That sucks. Oh, NAB never gets any more fun every time you play against it.
Okay, so your opponent is down 2 Sejuani, 3 Riptide Rex, and a Gangplank. Is there a universe where you actually get to mount a comeback with the hand that you currently have? I think if you top deck a Radiant Guardian and you hang on to the second single combat, maybe, because 511 is only threatening 3 damage on an open attack. So, you know, there's a universe.
There is a universe where SharkBait could come back. He needs heal. Like, he absolutely needs heal right now with this Monkey Idol being on the field. And you just asked me, you're like, all right, your opponent's down 3 Sejuani, 2 Gangplank, 1 this, 1 that. I don't remember exactly what you said, but I literally heard that in my mind as, like, your mom has 2 apples and your dad has 4. They both bring them home. That's literally what I heard when you said that. And I'm like, wait, did I just go back to elementary school real quick?
Okay, now we're going to Morning Light to single combat the Monkey Idol. Our opponent still has 3 cards. I mean, this is probably the best case you're ever going to get out of this Morning Light.
Yeah.
It's not like the Morning Light actually lets you single combat to kill a Gangplank or a Sejuani. They are 6 health at this point minimum.
Oh, man. It just feels so bad to use all those resources to basically, like, not win. You're basically using those resources to not win the game. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, and that's a terrible top deck.
Okay, so we're going to see Parlay to active. That's kind of what I thought 511 was sitting on, was a big plunder turn. So we're going to start off with Parlay. I would imagine now we're going to see... Oh, okay, Jagged Butcher from the left. What were these last 2 cards that you had, 511?
Another Jagged?
Is it Pilfered Goods? Living Legends!
Oh, my God.
That's not what I thought was hiding in there.
He got that when he ripped the star shaping. Oh, my God.
There's no way you don't win with this, right? Your opponent has 2, 3, 2. Yeah, even the Messenger is almost enough. Show me one of the big boys. Give me the Destroyer.
Give me...
Okay, Equinox now. I want to show me something cool.
Why is he playing all these small cost cards? He must have gotten another unit.
Yeah,
there it is.
There we go. I wanted to see.
And 511 picking up game 3 there. Gonna take it 2-1 versus SharkBait. Gonna advance to 5-0, and SharkBait gonna go to 4-1. All right, that's going to wrap up round 5. We got 2 more for day 1 here. Again, going to have the remainder of day 1 and all of day 2 for you guys on the channel throughout the rest of the week. So pretty excited to be able to bring you guys this stuff. But as always, everybody stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.